Crystals Collide, Flower Guardian, a Monkey Kid AU story written by Coral Animates, also being read by me. Part 3, Training. The next day rolls by. The two go to a clearing of the forest. Once they get there, Nessa stands by a large tree, with Coral standing but a few feet away, waiting to be told what to do to get this training started. Alright, if we're gonna do this, let's work at the powers you've got before unlocking new ones. Now, let me see what you can do, he says to her in a stern voice. Coral felt some nerves as her powers weren't too grand. All she could really do was make vines and had a green flower blade. It was small, but it was a start. Nessa observes what she can do and nods. We can work on that. Now, watch carefully. Nessa summons his spear, and in a blink of an eye, he jumps up and makes some clean cuts to a few branches. Nothing happens at first, but when he lands and puts his spear at his side, the branches fall one by one, hitting the ground behind him. Coral was impressed by his speed.
Whoa, that was so fast! How did you...
she said in surprise. It was but a simple speed tactic that will come in good use. Most of these gods may be fast, so you must learn to keep up. Now, it's your turn to try, he said as he pointed his spear to another large tree. Coral looks up at it, and though she's nervous, she decides to give it a shot. She takes a deep breath and begins to run towards the tree. She uses her vine to latch onto the branch and bring out her blade. Her plan was to jump and then have the vines pull her into the branch and cut it. She was about to jump when suddenly... she tripped over a rock, causing the vines to lose their grip, and she tumbled down. She ends up hitting the tree face first and landing on her back. She looked up at the sky and blinked, trying to process what happened. When Nessa saw this, he immediately rushed over, looking down at her with a bit of concern on his face. Hey, you alright? He asked as he sat her up by the tree. He decided to inspect the damage. Her head was bleeding slightly, and because of that caused the darkened cracks to react to that area, but only a little bit. Coral rubs the back of her head, trying to downplay her injury.
Oh, come on, I'm fine, it's not that bad.
Coral, the blood is getting on the ground as we speak. I wouldn't exactly call this fine, he said sternly, but also with a bit of annoyance for her trying to ignore her pain.
Point taken.
She chuckled nervously. As Nessa healed her wound, the cracks that reacted to that spot went back to their normal sizes. Coral is silent for a little as he heals her, before she speaks out.
You know there's no point in healing me, right? Even if you try, it's not going to erase this curse. Nothing will.
Nessa takes account into her words. He doesn't say anything for a moment, but then he breaks the silence. While it is true I cannot reverse what this king has done, but I can assure you, I will do everything I can to keep you from breaking apart. And I will be sure to make you the best person that you can be, and make you a fighter, no matter what. Coral gives him a little smile, touched by his words. Nessa gets up from his knees. Now, what do you say we try again? But this time, watch your surroundings. You had the right idea, but the execution could use some work, he says, looking down at her. Coral looks back up at him. Filled with determination in her eye, she gets back up.
All right.
The training goes on. For days, weeks, months, even made it to years. She keeps trying to learn how to make her vine stronger, to work on her speed and unlock more abilities. Each time it was a fail, but she didn't give up. 2 years passed. She finally started to get her vine attacks down, cutting the branches in a clean snap as she lands. Not only that, unlocking new powers too. She could summon a scythe now, her agility and fast-paced movements were improving, and she could teleport, which scared her the first time she did that, to say the least. But she was able to use it as a boost to her speed so she could be a bit more faster. Another year passes, and now she's 16. It was time for the training to get more serious. As her and Nessa were sparring, he grabs the blade of her scythe to stop her in her tracks. Listen, Coral. While I am very impressed on how much you've been improving and unlocking new abilities, I think it's time we change the game up. Coral was a bit curious on his words.
Alright?
Nessa lets go of her blade. I have been nice and patient with you, but from now on, we work at my pace. I will push you harder than you've ever been pushed before. I need to make sure that you can handle the god's environment so you don't break instantly, which means dealing with poisons, the cold, blazing heat, each god in a different location with varying factors. Do you think you're up for it? Coral hesitates a little, but she's been working to get her strength up for 3 years. It was obvious at some point that things had to step up so her curse wouldn't spread every time she got hit. She nods at him.
Yeah, I think I can do it.
Neza points to a mountain at a distance with a spear. Do you see that over there? That is known as Jade's Point. What's unique about it is that it has different levels of all the climates and situations relating to the gods. It will not be easy, he tells her. Coral feels some nerves looking at the mountain, but she tries to play it off being confident.
I won't lie, it's pretty big, but I can handle it. Besides, how bad can it be? I lied, it's bad, it's very bad!
She shouted as she saw how high up they were, freaking out a little bit. Well, more than a little bit. The wind lets out a strong breeze while Neza tries to calm her down.
How would you relax? You're gonna be more scared if you look over the ledge!
He shouted at her. Coral wasn't taking any of that.
Relax? Relax! Oh! Easy for you to say! You're a god! I can easily trip on something and then fall down this goddamn mountain, break and die, and then, journey's over, world's done, time to find someone who's not on a goddamn lifeline!
Before she could finish, Neza slapped her in the face. The cracks reacted a little, but it did calm her down.
Thank you, Neza, I needed that,
she said, catching her breath. Neza clears his throat. I apologize. It was the only thing I could think of for snapping you back to reality. Now, you do know that this will be dangerous and will take a long time to finish, right? Do you think you can do it? He asks her. As she looks at the cave of the mountain, which contains the different situations, she prepares herself.
I'll try.
And so, every day, the two would return to Jade's Point, training in how to deal with the tougher gods, their climates, their abilities, what to avoid, and how to face the poisonous ones. It was tough. But day by day, she was learning. She was fully determined to get through them, with some trial and error, of course. Time kept going and going until finally, we cut to present day. 4 years later. Coral is 20 years old, an adult now. It takes a long stretch home, but she was finally able to make it past the last dangerous climate of the mountain, ready to set out on her journey, find the gods, take them on, and save this very land. Neza leans on a rock, waiting for her, and looking at the green flower he helped grow into a warrior. He lets out a small smile. I knew you could do it, he says, standing up, walking a bit towards her. Coral catches her breath.
Yes, but will it be enough to take them on, though? I don't fully know. How do I know I really have what it takes?
She asked him. Neza picks up a rock that she broke and then looks back at her. He's quiet for a moment, but then begins to speak as he turns around. Come, there's a village not too far from here. I think it's about time. Coral is a bit confused as he starts walking. About time for what? Neza stops in his tracks as he looks back at her a little bit. Well, there's someone I want you to meet. An elderly woman. I think you two will come to understand each other. That concludes the end of Chapter 1. To be continued in Chapter 2. Thank you for listening!